Hello, friends. Ever since Election Day, I've been thinking through some of the ramifications, the fallout, the aftermath, if you will, of what is transpiring in our culture, in our country, and really in our families. I have a few observations I'd like to share with you, and I'll try to get through them fairly quickly. Number one, it's become pretty clear that politics has become the new religion for much of the nation. People are investing more care and concern into campaigns than the conditions of their own souls and the health of their own relationships. Families are splitting, friends are defriending. Why? Because we've handed over far too much influence and credibility to those running for office. Number two, all politicians, much like what would happen in a false religion, all politicians promised they'll never leave you. They'll never forget you. They'll always fight for you. And for some reason, lots of people fall for it. They believe in it. They actually invest their identity in those promises, and it's a lie. If you've ever wondered, why are there such wide-ranging emotional, visceral reactions to things like voting? It's because for many people, they have misplaced their trust in the hollow promises of a campaign. It really doesn't matter which party you support. All the candidates, especially at a national level, will say things like, every single day I'm going to fight for you. And for people who've never really experienced the love and security of someone fighting on their own behalf, that kind of line sounds pretty appealing. But here's the reality. Only Christ can make that promise and keep it and fulfill it 100% of the time. This misplaced religion known as politics and these vapid promises that we keep seeing on TV and in speeches, they play to the longing in the souls of voters. It leads us to this emotional overreaction. And the only place you can go for a fully confident and trusting representation is deeper into your faith in Christ. Number three, just be nice. Let me try that again. Hear me out. Just be nice. In 2016, very few people thought that Hillary Clinton had any chance of losing an election to Donald Trump, right? And in the end analysis, when it was all done and the dust settled a bit, those who changed how they might normally have voted and went instead in the direction of Donald Trump made it very clear that they couldn't stand Hillary. They weren't necessarily voting for him, but they were voting against her. Sound familiar? Fast forward now to 2020. Now we know that both of the bases for Biden and for Trump, we know that the bases are going to vote for their preferred candidates no matter what happens. But elections are won in the center margins these days. That's how it happens here in America. Those voters that could go either way, they don't care much about policy at all. They vote on personality. And I think we're going to learn over the years that even the most ardent of Trump supporters would have to sign on to this belief that if he were a little nicer and a little less crude, probably wins the election by double digits and there's no chaos after the voting. Again, the bases are going to be there for both candidates, right? We know that. They're not going anywhere. But for those deciding factor votes in the middle, those suburban moms and those that really vote for personality, they said, we don't like you very much, Mr. Trump. And they went the other way. For 2 straight elections now, the candidate that was pretty heavily favored lost because she and then he simply weren't very nice. Number 4, behaving like the one that you claim to detest says more about you than it does them. Look at the behavior of disaffected, disappointed voters over the past 6 months, all the way up through the election, but before that. Whether it's rioting in the streets and looting, whether it's threatening and yelling and smashing and tears and tantrums and end of the world terror. Speaking poorly of others hating them and behaving like those you don't like, it's a terrible look. It says really bad, negative things about those who are doing that behavior. You know, you can dislike a candidate and not vote for them without becoming like them. Number 5, my last one. You got to stop giving the media so much influence and input into your life. Listen very carefully. I'm in the media. They do not want the best for you or for the nation or for your family. Here's what they want. They simply want you to keep clicking, reading, or watching. That's it. Nothing else matters. As long as you're choosing that source as your source, they've won. They're happy. That's what they were after, even if the information is biased and inaccurate. Stop giving them that much credibility over your joy in your life, and don't give other people the power to make you miserable. My friends, in this time, in this chaotic aftermath of an election, here's one thing I know for sure. Every single time you invest your confidence and trust and your identity in the promises of someone running for a position of power, you're going to be disappointed. That's how it works. You see, they're people, just like we are. Every candidate, every voter are deeply imperfect. And both sides spend a lot of time pretending otherwise. So just take a deep breath, return to your relationships, invest in your faith, bring your family back together, and realize that over the course of your lifetime and mine, you'll spend a few decades under the presidential leadership of the opposite party as you will under the party that you most support. It's going to kind of break out even. And over all those years, some really good things are going to happen in your life, and some negative things as well. But your life does not have to be miserable or controlled by the outcome of an election.